John, although we didn't know who it was the number 100 Valkensport BMW.
I'll go with that.
Christian Krognes, which had the accident actually at Galgenkopf, is where that car went off.
Yes, which is right before that is the double right-hander leading onto the straight onto the Dottiger. And it was one of the crossbow. The other one was the crossbow, and that is at Brünchen. So that would make sense as well. That's a little bit further back around the circuit. So that's coming down towards the Pflanzgarten area. And that was the 924 Jung and Wolf KTM crossbow that had issues there. And Hatzenbach has claimed a victim as well with the Honda Civic 511. And the 680 235 Racing Cup car with a problem at Fuchsruhe at the Foxhole as well. So plenty of problems in the very first lap of a 6-hour race, which I find extraordinary that people should be so excitable early on.
Both the 680 and the 511 being able to continue despite a spin in the case of the 511 car and light contact with the barriers for the BMW number 680. But as I confirm that both of those are able to rejoin. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead is now well amongst the tail enders coming down the Dottinger Höhe.
Who are just finishing their first lap, of course, these tail enders.
And the 911 car really having a bit of a go there at the Haribo Mercedes. The Haribo Mercedes certainly seems to be quick through the corners, but loses out on straight line speed, John.
Yes, so it would suggest maybe running a little more wing. I wonder as well whether they are doing a bit of fuel saving, having had their fuel allowance reduced by, I think you said 6 litres, yeah?
Yes, but I think the Mercedes also struggles in any case in terms of its straight line speed. It's a slightly older GT3 car, although it's the newer AMG GT3, not the SLS, but such is the pace of development that in comparison with the Porsche and perhaps the Audi, it is not quite the fastest thing in a straight line. So the Mercedes having to deal with a slight speed differential, but the 911 unable to get past in any case.
And people will be saying, screaming at their computer screens, radios, or however they are consuming this. But this is effectively GT3. It's a balance of performance class. It shouldn't matter how old your car is. And there's nothing I can say to that, frankly.
No, indeed not. I think it's how you get the best out of the car. Yes, you have a balance of performance, but then having been set your balance of performance, you then have to set the car up, and it happens in that order. You don't set the car up and then wait for the balance of performance to come to you after that. You get the balance of performance, and then you kind of recuperate as much as you can by setting the car up. And I think the way that Mercedes does it, you mentioned it earlier, John, is absolutely right. It puts a little bit more wing on, and that gives it better handling through the corners, but it does then lead to it not being quite as quick in the straight. So it's not the balance of performance as much as the setup as a result of the balance of performance.
31 Porsche, still struggling with the BMWs. It's Norman Ziedler that is behind the wheel there. Alex Imperatori is, well, was up the road to him in the 35. In the 35, Jordan Tresson has just gone behind him, so Jordan's dropped back a little bit. Claudia Hurtgen in that battle, as well as Alex Imperatori. They've managed to just slide away from Jordan Tresson, graduate of the Nissan GT Academy, and carrying PlayStation colours in that blue number 35 BMW.
Out onto the Hatzenbach go, the leading group then for the third time, and still the top 10 very close together, but at the moment the advantage still with the Rover Racing BMW 99, with the Haribo Mercedes in second place, not really competing against the leader, but trying to protect its second place against Romain Dumas in the 911 Porsche.
very impressed to see the pace of the TCR cars, and that is certainly a coming class. It will, as I've said before, it will do for touring car racing and endurance touring car racing what GT3 and GT4 has done for the GT4 cars, and expect to see far more of them in the future. So, first laps having been completed, expect a 7 or 8 lap run for the cars at the head of the field. Thomas Eng and Renger van der Zande separated by just over a second as they went past the start-finish line, with Romain Dumas, Martin Raginger, Frank Stippler. So 99, 8, 9, 11, 4, 5, 4:15, excuse me. And then the 28 Land Audi of Conor de Filippi just a few seconds further back in 6th position. Very, very early days in what is, let's not forget, a 6-hour race, and there's still 5 hours and 39 minutes of it to go. It's lovely weather out on the Nordschleife. Hubert Haupt in among the touring cars. One of the Honda Civics there with a left-hand front wing that was not as it came out of the garage this morning. Hubert Haupt in the 7 Mercedes-Benz, sitting in 7th position.
Yeah, I think some of the cars on this first stint, John, we'll see coming in after 6, possibly even 5 laps. Firstly, because of that formation lap having used up some fuel, but also because of the need to get a little bit out of sync for some of the cars in order not to get too much crowding in the pit lane. One of the advantages of having the 3 start groups is that automatically you get the car to field spread a little bit more, and so coming into the pits, and because you do get through a pit stop before the car will get around the whole lap, but it does mean that you do need to plan when you're going to be coming into the pit so as not to get blocked or hampered by the person with whom you're sharing the garage, because lots of these cars will be sharing the garage, will be sharing a garage with another car at least, and you then have to kind of talk to your opponents to work out when they're coming in so that you don't get blocked by them coming into the pits at the same time as you. So expect cars to be coming into the pits 1 or 2, I would think, at the end of 5 laps, and then more on 6 laps, and then we'll see who can go the furthest. And I would kind of think that maybe it would be the Audi which will be one of the later pit stoppers, Land Motorsport and Phoenix, as I say, both with entries at the Nürburgring this weekend. And the Audis have also had a fuel reduction, not quite as much as reduction as the Mercedes. They've had 5 litres rather than 6, but certainly they and the Porsches, Porsche has only had a 1 litre fuel reduction for this race. So we're on lap 3 at the moment, and already a lot of lapping going on with teams having to get past other cars.
Yeah, and there were 3 very early slow zones for those incidents we mentioned earlier on. They have now all been removed. And just as I say that, the curse of the commentator at the first corner, the 271 Clio has gone off. This is an old German crew, and he's had help there. One of the SP3 front-wheel drive cars, the left-hand front tyre completely ripped off the rim, and evidence of contact to the left front there as well. I would say that he didn't do that of his own volition.
No, but he might have been going up on the inside of somebody
True.
at turn 1. So whilst not of his own volition, I absolutely agree. Perhaps not entirely
blameless.
Guiltless, yes.
4 235i's were across the circuit. I placed before the court a right-hand damage to the 535 GT86, which it's evidence. I'm not saying it's damning, but that car has damage to the opposite side at the front end. Amazing to see 4 235i is coming down into Tegar, taking up all of the track.
And a little bit of rain reported at the Brüchen part of the circuit. Big popular spot for spectators spots as the race leaders head in towards Tiergarten now for the third time. And again, with this advantage of 1.3 seconds on his previous lap. That strikes me as a little bit larger this time, although to be fair, Renner van der Zande has, well, I was going to say he staved off the challenge, but he hasn't staved off the challenge at all, because Roman Dumas had a big look up on the inside there as they went into turn one, locked a front left brake as he then realised that he was going too fast to make turn one, and then backed off and ended up not challenging at all. They've been fighting their way through, fighting with each other, also fighting their way through the traffic. They've also allowed the Martin Ragginger Porsche, the Falcon Motorsport Porsche, to close the gap just a little bit on the people 6 seconds behind. He's now only just over a second behind the second and third place battle, I reckon.
So marvellous stuff early on, as we have come to expect. Lots of excitement, but these races only really play out towards the end of the race. It's a bit like an old handicap race in some respects. We'll see people with different tactics, different lengths of pit stops, different lengths of running on their fuel. News then that Norbert Siedler has picked his way through those three BMWs that were ahead of him, and I think he's got all of them behind him now. Certainly got the Falcon car and the 35 Tresson car behind him, and there's actually 20 behind him as well. There it is, Claudia Hürtgen is the final BMW that he had to deal with, and he has. And into the pit lane, the 390 Renault. I heard hammering. It's never a good, yes, percussive engineering going on to the rear right-hand side of that. Birmingham screwdriver coming out. It was only a very small hammer though.
Yes, I think it was possibly some side-to-side contact which had pushed the wheel in and or pushed the body panel in, and then that had was rubbing against, snagging against the wheel. A few moments ago, continuing on there for 7, 8, 9 places. They are just behind the number 7 car, the Black Falcon Mercedes. Three laps completed for the leading group. The gap between Philipp Eng and in the 99 ROWE BMW and Renner van der Zande in the Mercedes, 3.6 seconds now, and Roman Dumas less than a second behind with the 911 Mantype in third place, so he was able to close up, but I think as much as anything else that was due to Roman's attempt to get past Renner van der Zande and tripping up himself a little bit. Frank Stippler with the Phoenix Audi still there in third place, less than a second, sorry, in fourth place, less than a second behind, and that's a change, isn't it? Because Martin Ragginger has fallen back behind Frank Stippler now. So Phoenix Audi number 15, Stippler up into fourth place ahead of the Falcon Porsche before the start of the race on pole position, which is now 2 seconds ahead of the Land Motorsport Audi, but still only 7.5 seconds separating the top 6, with the 2 Audis, 3 Porsches and Mercedes in the top 6.
Slow zone at Hohe Acht for an issue that I can't tell you about at the moment. The number 30 car is back out on the circuit. That is the Fricadelli car that was involved in the incident early doors. That's the Klaus Avelin car, isn't it? That he started at least and qualified. Apologise for those of you who are finding it difficult to hear on the video stream. We aren't in charge of that mix, I'm afraid. That is happening with our Vega colleagues. We will let them know about the effects being too loud. It's fine. I know this doesn't really help you, but it's fine on RSL Extra and RadioLeMans.com, where we are controlling the mix. So apologies for that. We are trying to get a message through to the Vega technical chaps. It's the 966 that has stopped on the entrance to the Dottinger Ruhr. The Ruhr Act, excuse me. That is where the 8 Mercedes is heading to right now. Yellow flags are out at that point. Should be slowing down and there should be no overtaking. He's in the slow zone. Closes right up on the Enger BMW, and there's damage to that 966 Clio. Look to me, right hand front damage. He's been off at Ruhr Act just before the run down to Wippermann, which is where the Haribo Mercedes-Benz is now. A lovely flowing part of the circuit as he carves his way through. You can use the curb on the right hand side there, it's quite flat. Now over the top and down to the entrance. This is Eisbach heading down towards Brünchen. Very easy to overdrive this section, but again there's runoff if you need it on driver's left. Now heading up the hill, using all of the rumble strip there. And now getting ready to get the foot down because it's flat from here on in, down through Flansgarden. On the power.
This is where I think, John, the Haribo Mercedes has its advantage through these fast corners with the extra downforce on the Mercedes. Van der Zande able to open up a bit of a gap between himself and Roman Dumas. This is where he has to. We kind of don't see him having to modify his line as if Dumas is trying to get through at all. So I think this is where he tries to open up the gap. And then when we see them on the Dottinger Ruhr, Porsche just closing in on the back of the Mercedes. But you're right as well in what you were saying that Van der Zande is beginning to lose touch with Philip Kane. The Rover Mercedes, the Rover BMW up ahead is still 3 seconds or so to the good. But just look at the Porsche, the Grello Porsche, the Manzai car 911, 12 back as they came out of Galgenkopf onto the Dottinger Ruhr, and now as they come down the straight, it's foot flat to the floor, and the Porsche slowly drags up onto the tail of the Mercedes. I don't think he's going to be able to drag up close enough to get by when they get to Tiergarten, but we may see a repeat of the challenge that we saw from Dumas last time when they actually get onto the start-finish straight, because that's when he's able to use the Porsche's perhaps superior acceleration out of the Tiergarten chicane. Here they come across the line. 4 laps now down, John, and across the line. I
wouldn't be surprised to see the Montai Porsche. Oh no, he's gone through. I was about to say I wouldn't be surprised to see him come in. We've seen them do a different strategy in the past, and I never try to get a second guess Olaf Montai because he knows, well, he's forgotten more about racing around here than most people will ever know, frankly. To see if anybody, maybe 4 laps just a little too short. Maybe at the end of the 5th lap I might see somebody come in.
I think with the 6-hour duration, it does mean that it is worth going a little bit longer in that first stint. It almost takes away a little bit of the flexibility. When you've got a 4-hour race, then you do have a shorter stint. When you have a 6-hour race, you're maybe trying to push the whole race on 5 stops. The problem with the lap here is that it's so long, is that you've got to make your decision, you have to commit to your decisions, and I think what you say is right. They're going to be coming in after 5 or 6, and I almost expect the Mercedes to be coming in before the Porsche does. But once again, Romain Dumas getting very, very close to the back of that Haribo Mercedes as they head down through the Grand Prix loop now, John.
Yes, and it must be slightly frustrating to any driver to know that you've got a car that is better and not be able to make that advantage stick. I suppose the difference between a good driver and a very good driver or a great racer is that you just can't allow that frustration to take over and to therefore make injudicious decisions. BMW, Mercedes, Porsche, Audi, Mercedes, Porsche for the top 8, separated by 68 seconds down to the number 31 in 8th position. Norbert Seidler driving that car. The 2 Audis in the top 6 at 4 and 6.
What I don't understand there is why Connor De Philippi is now 7 seconds behind the Falcon Porsche number 4. Martin Ragginger, because Connor De Philippi was much closer behind on the previous lap.
He was much closer, but he was much closer to Frank Stippler, who's gone ahead of Ragginger.
Ah, yes, that's what's happened, isn't it? Yeah, okay. So it's an improvement from Frank Stippler. Martin Ragginger has lost the place, hasn't he? Connor De Philippi then actually slower. No, it's a faster lap by Connor De Philippi. So he's closed up, in fact, on the Martin Ragginger Porsche. So as you say, then it's still that top 6 comprising the 3 Porsches, 2 Audis and a Mercedes. And then in 7th place is the Black Falcon Mercedes, number 7, Hubert Haupt.
Yeah, Connor did lose touch with the first 4 quite early on. He was 4 or 5 seconds back, and he's continued to. His last lap was an 8:32, which is a little bit slower. I would suggest he hit traffic at a different time.
Or a slow zone.
Or a slow zone, correct, yes. The thing to do here, dear viewer and listener, is not to get overly concerned by somebody losing even 10 seconds in a lap, because it doesn't necessarily be the portent of some disastrous occurrence.
It's right, isn't it? It's kind of the paradox, because they talk about it being endurance racing sprints these days, 6 hours of continuous flat-out driving, but it's never quite as simple as that, because you can get caught out by either meeting traffic at the wrong time or having a slow zone, and then it becomes a story of swings and roundabouts, where the important thing, as you've said earlier on, John, is just to keep your composure, not get rattled by all the little things, the events that get in the way of your race plan, but just stick to keep going as fast as you possibly can all the time.
Just to let you know that the leading non-SP9 car is the number 62 in 13th position. That's the Krauling driven car, and he's not that far ahead of the Christian Menzel 77 machine in 14th position, round about 8 seconds. And then it's Cup 2 next up, the 101. SPX is the 54 car in 17th position. SP8T, the 151 in 20th position. And other leaders, H4, which I thought was a headlight. Oh, that's 2nd position in H4, of course, isn't it? So where's the leader in H4? That's just confused me. There we are. Is the 588 in 29th position. XP8T is the 320 in 31st position. So I'm just running these down. I'll let you look them up yourself. Cup 3 in 32nd position is the 979. I'll scroll down a little bit more. TCR is the 816 in 63rd position. Cup X is the 930 in 59th position. V6 is 56th position, and that's the 435. SP6, the 198. Slow zone and traffic cones still out at Ruhr Act as that.
BMW.
I thought it was a first time around. I have to say, I thought it was a Clio. It is. I'll tell you which number it is. You stand by 1 second. it's the 66. So let me have a quick shufty at Paul's entry list, because
which is sorted by class, not numerically.
yeah, but it'll be towards the end of that. Oh, you've printed on both sides. How green of you. 966 was a Porsche Cayman GT4, so neither of us were right. That's one of the Mathol Racing AV fan club cars for Mark Keilwerth, Timo Merleg, Marcus Adolfo Vazquez and Lucas Sadun, an old French-driven car there, and I'm afraid hasn't got very far into the race. So there will be some disappointed teammates there. That's always the issue, isn't it, if you're not the first in the car. And that's always going to be the perennial problem in racing where there are multiple drivers. So leading cars in a bit of clear air for a moment, coming to the second of the carousels, the smaller of the two, and now onto Galen-Kopf with the Seat TCR cars. No, it's an Astra, excuse me, that he's just gone by there. Just have to modify his line. Philippe Eng looking for a decent run then down the Dottinger, and does. And still in second place, Renger van der Zande with Romain Dumas just gently being caught by Stippler. I reckon Frank's the quickest guy at the moment, and the lap times would bear that out. Although Romain Dumas actually was pretty quick last time around. But it's just about where you catch the traffic and how you deal with it.
Indication of the slow zones present on the circuit, though, John, with the last lap times in the 8:20s, 8:24 for Philippe Eng, 8:23 for Renger van der Zande, as compared to the first opening laps of 8 minutes 13 and the qualifying laps of 8 minutes 10. So that's the impact of slow zones on the circuit. But look at Stippler now, right up into the tail of Romain Dumas as they come across the start-finish line, and Stippler moves to the outside line. Is he going to go and try and brake late and go around the outside, or is Dumas going to have the inside line?
Doesn't need to, Paul. He's actually made the pass before he gets into the braking area and pulls into the pit lane exit. He'll go a little bit wide here, and that'll be Romain's chance to try and do the over and under. But effectively, the blue and white number 15 Audi had got that done, and that was done on pace down the start-finish line.
And Dumas having a bit of an attack at the inside curve as well as he got into turn one there, having a big, quite a lunge back, but not happy about having been overtaken there by the Phoenix Audi. 15, Frank Stippler then up into third place now. So we now have a BMW leading the way, Mercedes in second place, Audi third, Porsche in fourth place.
What I would like to see, and I've managed to norse up what I was doing there entirely, is what tyres the Audis are on, and whether they are still using the Pirellis that they moved to successfully, in the case of Land, for the 24 hours. Now, I can't find anywhere a list of tyre manufacturers, which is quite unusual. Normally those sort of things are there. But I believe they are still running the Pirellis.
The only answer, John, is to send us to the Nürburgring and
lead out a bit further.
Then we can look around.
Yes. So 2.5 seconds the gap from Enger to van der Zande, 99 to 8. Romain Dumas has been relieved of his third place, courtesy of an 8:26 last time around by Frank Stippler. The leaders, though, beginning to pull away, and that, I think, is the worry for Stippler in the Audi. He doesn't want to lose any more ground. Renger van der Zande just about holding Philippe Eng. Nice overtake, though, by Stippler at the end, or beginning of this lap. End of the last lap, really, is when he happened. Looked like as though Romain was going to have another dive down the inside. He hit that inside curb on turn number 1 really hard, which
he gave it a good old bite, didn't he?
The danger of that, Paul, is it makes the car jump, and at that point, Roman, as good as he is, with the front wheels off the ground, really isn't in control. Oh, BMW in the pit lane. It's a 35 car that is in the PlayStation car. Jordan Tresson out. New set of Dunlops going on that car. This is the sort of flat blue car. Now that is at the end of lap 5.
Yes, it is, and that's the first of the what you kind of call scheduled pit stops. I would suspect, as much as anything else, that is to try and get that car through its pit stop so that it doesn't block up anybody else on the circuit. Getting some shots on the screen now of the GT4
Very
AMG
pretty.
Mercedes. This is the number 54 car, which is the Uwe Altzen entered car. Fabian Hamprecht currently behind the wheel. This is the car that Thomas Jaeger is also driving, so they'll be giving that a go and seeing exactly how well that car can go. It's running in the SPX class rather than the GT4 class.
Yeah, and I've got my tyres mixed up as well, by the way. It was Dunlop, of course, that Land and the Audis, or some of the Audis, swapped to, because Michelin didn't want to bring their confidential tyres and allow them to. The rule was you could bring any tyre you wanted, but you had to make it available to anybody who wanted to buy one. And Michelin didn't want to bring their confidential tyres that they'd been developing and let people see their proprietary information. So the question is whether they have stayed on the Dunlops for the rest of the VLN season, and my belief is that they have. Apologies, I was reading something else at the same time as I was saying that, which had the word Pirelli in it, and got myself confused, as only old and senile people like me can do. One of those bits of circuit now that Renger van der Zande will be loving as he climbs towards the bottom of the carousel, because he's got nothing in front of him. For a moment he's using the circuit as it's meant to be, and he hits the traffic at the right at the bottom of the hill at the Steilstrecke, and now is into the Caracciolo carousel, running that car really low. You can hear it bottoming out on the concrete there. Yellow flags are still out though at Ruhr Act for that 966 Cayman, which went off very early on and is still stranded on the right hand side. The car is about to be moved. I think there's some barrier damage as well. There is a medical vehicle there. We wish the best to all involved.
Yeah, that's been 3 or 4 laps.
Correct.
Now, hasn't it? So they'll be used to it, but as you say, needing not to get too frustrated by its presence there. Just going back to the GT4 Mercedes running in the SPX class. They're actually, Johnny Palmer would say, bossing that class at the moment. I hate the expression, but dominating the class.
There you
19th
go.
19th and 20th overall.
See, there is a real word for it somewhere.
Yeah, quite. But you know, you like to use the youthful terms sometimes.
Youthful vernacular.
Anyway, they are in charge in the SPX class, but they're in 19th and 20th place overall. Now, the reason for pointing that out is that they are well clear of the GT4 BMW, which is the 998 numbered car, which is down in 27th place overall. Although that car confusingly running in the SP8T class. The honest Gavliker's thought was perhaps the engine that the Mercedes is running in that GT4 class car is not close enough to a production engine in order to be allowed into the SP8 class. SP8 demands that you use a stock engine, production engine, and thought is that possibly the GT4 Mercedes is running in a slightly less commercially available engine, and that's why it's running in the SPX class rather than SP8.
Or it's running different aero.
That is another possibility, yes.
in the same way as say the Aston Martin GT8 GT4, which is a GT4-ish car, but that again is slightly different.
But that wouldn't stop the aero wouldn't stop the Mercedes from running in SP8 rather than in SP8.
Sorry, yes, I see what you're saying. Unless there's some reason that they don't want to run that car in SP8 that we don't know about. We've seen BMW before run cars that aren't quite finished as far as the homologation is concerned, but I believe that is the finished car, isn't it? That is a customer car, the Mercedes.
The Mercedes, well, no, it's not.
Ah, well, there you go. There's your answer.
It's still under development and test.
Well, okay.
It's not going to be offered commercially, as far as I understand, until the end of the year. So
there's
the
your
only way
answer.
you can get a Mercedes GT4 at the moment is by being part of the AMD test team, which is what Uwe Altzen is.
Got you.
So that's how that happens. The leaders, meanwhile, have gone across the line to complete 6 laps and looking out to see which ones are coming to the pits. Well, the answer is none of them just yet, but Frank Stippler has continued his charge in number 15, and he has now moved ahead of the Haribo Mercedes, so he's moved up into 2nd place in the race, and the only car I didn't see come through was the number 99 BMW. Philip Eng came into the pits. Now, I didn't see the car come through, nor did I see it go into the pit, so either I wasn't looking at the right screen at the time, or the cameraman showed it and I missed it. But the 99 BMW then possibly has been into the pits, because I can't see it ahead. So this is now the battle for the lead between Frank Stittler in the Phoenix Audi and Renger van der Zande in the Haribo Mercedes number 8.
Hello to everyone on the other side of the world. Everyone, because they're all watching and listening apparently, as a fantastically stock-looking VW Jetta goes a lap down. That's a Golf with a boot for those of you who didn't get that. Sort of a dark red colour, and it looks absolutely street stock, other than for the addition of race numbers in a slightly different colour. Now under tow from one of the Opel vehicles out on the circuit.
The reason it didn't come into the pits, or we didn't see it come into the pits, is that it didn't. As you say,
that is the 99 car.
The Philip Eng car.
Yeah.
That was, I wonder if it ran out of fuel. Yeah.
It's being towed very slowly and in a slow zone, and I think it's off the circuit to driver's right on the grass, and what we would call a Vauxhall Mocha. I'm not sure what the Opel version of that is. Soon to be a Peugeot something or other, one presumes. Opel Mocha, right, okay, thanks Tim. Fastest finger first, and that is at the end of the lap, Paul. I think that is driver's right at Tiergarten. That car is. The right-hand side passenger door comes open as the guys lean in.
Apparently it has had an accident.
Yeah.
And it's not as far round as we thought. It's actually at Schredenkreuz. So it's only about a quarter of the way around the first the lap before they even get to Arenberg. So
it's on the right-hand side at Arenberg then is where it's being towed. I could see the railings and the large grass area. He might not get that back from there, you know. So that's our leader that has had an issue, and yeah, correct, because that's where I thought it was with the high catch fencing. It's definitely not there. Well.
And another car that's had a problem is Conor de Filippi, number 28 in the Lant Audi. He's had a coming together with the number 660 BMW 318, and so Conor de Filippi has also not yet come round in the Lant Motorsport Audi number 28. So both 99 and 28 were in the top 7. As John says, the erstwhile leader 99 and 28 was 7th, Conor de Filippi. Neither of those have come round at the completion of lap 6. And none of them either have come into the pits as yet.
Oh dear. So drama at the head of the field early on, before even the first set of scheduled pit stops. And a couple there of the big, what we would call the big hitters, as the BMW from Falcon Tyres, it's the number 3 car, heads back out, having had its pit stop. Now that was brought in by Alex Imperatori. New set of Falcon rubber on that car. It's back out. See if I can see the helmet as it disappears. I think that Imperatori has stayed in that car. And that was at the end of its lap 6.
Apparently Conor De Filippi is back underway in the Land Motorsport Audi, having had that incident out on the circuit. So we'll wait and see whether or not Conor De Filippi is able to get round and bring the Audi into the pits. No further news though on whether the 99 BMW has going to be able to get going again. So the message we've had is that the car was involved in a collision with another car.
Yeah, approaching Schwedenkreuz, which is, what, 5 kilometres in. That is a very, very fast part of the circuit, and there's not a lot of runoff, certainly on the approach to that.
Johnny Palmer and I had our walk into the woods this year.
Oh, really?
And there's some very spectacular spectating opportunities down there as well. Quite remarkable how much of the Nordschleife, you can't really see it from the onboards, but there's an awful lot of it which is accessible to spectators if you're prepared to go for a bit of a walk and explore. And an awful lot of it that you can get to, and Schwedenkreuz, the approach to Schwedenkreuz, and then on the inside of Arenberg, and then going up towards Adenauer Forst as well. Great places where you can get a good view of the track.
So the Black Falcon Mercedes number 7 in the hands of, that's Hubert Haupt, isn't it, to start that car, still to make its first pit stop, heading up the hill. Now, you're right, there's very few places that are just flat here. He's heading up the hill from Bergwerk. And Conor De Filippi's car moving slowly, but it is moving. Coming into Tiergarten, this is the 29 Land Audi with right-hand indicator flashing. Looks to be down on the right rear, but bodywork seems intact, and no signs of, oh, well, I was expecting to see a tyre that was rubbing, scrubbing, or without air, and I'm not seeing that at all. So just a slow-moving Audi. Does look a little down on the right-hand rear, but that...
I just wonder whether he's had it coming together and they've damaged some of the suspension, and it's just not... although it's not working properly, it's not showing as wobbling around. When we see it come to a halt, it might, but yeah, that's the
right
car.
Front wheel maybe towed out a little bit there as well, so that would be right rear and right front damage to Conor De Filippi, who's got the car back to its pit box. And what I can't see any bodywork damage though, Paul.
No.
Now, the 660 was a car that you mentioned, wasn't it? That was the car that the 99 was involved in. That is an E30.
No, the 660 car was the car that was involved in the incident with Conor De Filippi. So
which is right in front of him in the pit lane. They might even be sharing a pit box. It's an E36 BMW. An older car, mainly white with blue and red racing stripes on it. And that car is right in front of the Land Audi, which is on its dolly jacks and is going back into its pit. Yes, there is a little bit of damage on the right front, and the right front wheel has been towed out.
And confirmation the car is on Dunlops as well. Which,
yes, well done.
We were able to see by accident. Accident used in both meanings of the word, but as they come through then, they've just completed their 6th lap. So the race leaders are going through and completing their 7th. with Frank Stippler goes into the pits. So does the Haribo Mercedes. So does the Falcon car. But I think Romain Dumas in the Manthey Porsche stayed out. So number 911 takes the lead as they complete their 7th lap. The other 3 cars in the top 4 come through with and make their pit stop at the end of their 7th lap, and almost exactly an hour into the race, 20 seconds shy of an hour into the race.
So 1 hour down, 5 to go, live in sound and vision, Radio Le Mans RSL Extra on the Radio Show Limited network of channels, along with vision from our colleagues at Vega. And thanks again for their technical assistance. So as they came across the line at the end of the 7th lap, I think probably Stippler... Sorry, did we say when the Stippler came in?
Yes, Stippler came in.
I thought he did, yes.
Yeah, so 911 has taken the lead of the race.
Yes.
Romain Dumas at the wheel.
Tenth position from the first of the SP7 cars. And that is the 62. That is the Gigaspeed Porsche GT America. The Frank Kraling, Mark Indorf and Christopher Brück car. Gigaspeed from very close to the circuit at Moispa. Nearly had enough there as the back of the chair moves unexpectedly. He's got a good run onto the Donegal. The GT America, of course, a very rare Porsche, only 20 of them made. Effectively a modified cup car to then Grand Am specifications, a change in roll cage and 1 or 2 other detail changes. There is a kit to change it back to a cup spec car. But of course, with only 20 of them built, a lot of them have stayed in that specification. This is one of them. Down into Tiergarten now. And that is the leading SP7 car.
The Land Motorsport, Wolfgang Land, reporting that they're retiring from the race with a lap already lost. They say it's not worth carrying on. It was already damaged yesterday, apparently, in a test accident, and they're not going to spend any more time on it today. So that car is a retirement. The number 28, Conor De Filippi, Audi R8 LMS.
Further down the field, the BMW E36, the 450, Dominic Thiemann, Kevin Totst and Jens Reimer. That car stopped at Flugplatz. Sabine Schmitz watching on as the 31 car, which was the undamaged of their team cars, is back in the pits for what appears to be a relatively regular stop. So,
wasn't it Sabine Schmitz's car that was involved in the accident?
It was
on
the 30 car, yes.
Corner.
Correct. It was Klaus Abelin that started that Frickadelli Racing Team car, and he shares that with Sabine Schmitz and Andreas Ziegler.
Yeah, so that was the car that was crashed at the first turn going into the Mercedes arena on the first lap.
The second of their cars, the 31, only has Norbert Siedler and Alexander Müller, the Swiss registered driver, who are down with those. That's a driving team. The Manthey Porsche did pit last time around, I'm being told. So the 911.
Yes.
So 7 laps from them as well. But I think that means all of the leaders came in. Unless Frank Stippler went round, and that's how he got the lead.
No, he was already in the lead.
Of course he was, yes. Correct. Yes, my apologies, because the pit because the end car had pitted ahead of them, correct, the previous lap.
So the only car that didn't make a stop on at the end of lap 7 was the SP7 class car.
That's the 62 gigaspeed Porsche leading its class.
And the GT4 Mercedes also coming into the pits. They might have gone a little bit longer, but they're also making their pit stop. So a useful test for them thus far.
That 54 car, left front tyre, looked very, very badly worn on the shoulder as it came off. And the BMW under tow now, just after, that was the 450 I think we were talking about earlier on, E36. So slightly confusing time now with everybody in the pit lane or having just pitted.
The other thing which makes the situation slightly more confusing is the effect of the delayed start from starting Group 2 and starting Group 3. Although they started 2.5 minutes later, their race time also only started when they crossed the line. So as the race progresses, so some of those cars are moving up in the order, with the leading what you might call lower class car being the H4 class leader, number 588. Which at the end of the lap was actually 13th place overall, number 588, just ahead of number 600. Those two first and second in H4, separated by not very much.
588 is a GT3 Cup Porsche, so those are mainly GT3 Cup cars.
Those are,
but it includes the K3.
Porsche Cup cars.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the K3 is entered by Kramer Racing.
Yes, it's a Kramer body kit on that.
Yeah, it looks fabulous.
Beautiful looking car.
Oh, it's Wolfgang Kaufmann who's driving it.
There we go. So fine effort by him, and as I say, at the end of the 6th lap, he was classified in 12th place overall. And as I say, that's largely due to the fact he started in the second starting group 2.5 minutes behind, and hasn't lost that much ground on the pace of the overall leaders in GT3 class. I
did suggest a K3 body kit for the 993. I was overruled by the responsible adult and a Kramer.
Doesn't look so good when you take it out from the road, although it's great as a track car.
Yeah. Sitting in Sainsbury's car park, it might be slightly too much.
Fine.
So the engine in the background is that of the GT America 62 from Porsche Gigaspeed, heading up that long run from Bergberg up through Klostertal, all flat it should be. They're down 1 gear, down 2 gears into the double left at Klostertal. Do not use the curve on the right-hand side to that little right-hand kink before Steilstrecke.
The whole point here, John, of course, is it's all uphill.
Correct.
And if you do lift, that's when you lose momentum so quickly, don't you?
And that's, even if you've driven tourist laps, and tourist laps may be coming to an end on the Nordschleife. So if you've never done it, get over there and do some soon. Because there's, I'm afraid, I think we all expected it to happen eventually. It would be a huge loss of revenue for the circuit, but I think we have to accept that in this day and age it was coming sooner or later, and that just unfettered access on the tourist days would disappear. It will mean, of course, that if that is the case, the only access you will have is via organised track days. The stranded Cayman, by the way, at Hohe Acht is gone, but the reason that the slow zone is still there is because of barrier work, so that must have been quite a heavy impact there, and our thoughts clearly with the driver. Now, I'm not sure who's in the 62 Gigaspeed car. Frank Kraling started the car. He shares with Mark Gindo and Christopher Brook, so not sure, but they are clearly very comfortable in that car around this circuit. Very, very committed indeed over the areas that you need to be. Currently having just crested the rise. heading down towards Wipperman. Great part of the circuit. Just hear the engine note rising as the back wheels get off the ground 2 or 3 times down here. Use the curb on the left and the right, and the paved area on the left as you run out through Flansgarden and down through the Stefan Beloff S towards Svalbardschwanz, which is now clear of the slow zone. Just riding the curve a little bit on the exit, which you kind of don't want to do, into Svalbardschwanz itself, the mini carousel. Yellow flags ahead of him at Gallenkopf, presumably not for the horse that we see on screen at the moment, just the single horsepower. That must be the bridge. So why is there a yellow flag? Oh no, now green again. So the time when we could have done with seeing the onboard, we didn't, unfortunately. And now, having lost all that momentum, has to build it up again. Slow moving car on the right hand side is a Porsche Cayman with bodywork deranged on the right hand side, and I think a puncture as well. 2 right hand side wheels on the grass on the ADAC Ruhr. Very, very quick area there. And the leading car's not that far ahead of that gigaspeed machine. And that looks to me as though Van der Sande is ahead of Stippler.
Exactly so, if it is still those 2 drivers at the wheel of those 2 cars, because both of those cars may have had a driver change when they had their pit stop. That change having happened, of course, during the pit stop, whether it was on the in lap, the out lap, or as a result of the pit stop itself being a different time, I would tend to think it would be the in lap or the out lap rather than the pit stop, because pit stop time given by the fact that they'd completed 7 laps when they came in at the end to make that pit stop. So the Haribo Mercedes then going through completing 8 laps on the tail of that Porsche, and again using all of the road as they go into the Mercedes arena, and the gap between the Haribo Mercedes and Phoenix Audi in second place around about 3 seconds, I would say, maybe 2.5 seconds, as they came across the line at the completion of 8 laps, an hour and 11 minutes into the race. In third place, I think it is still the Falcon Motorsport Porsche, although that car is a little bit further back. But the pace of the Porsche, the Get Speed Porsche, John, is
impressive.
Impressive. It's right there, close to what the Mercedes is doing. Van der Sande, if it is still he.
He's plotting down the hill on the Grand Prix circuit. That's the GT America. That's the leading SP7 car, the 62 car. That's the Gigaspeed car in a slightly different livery to that which I have seen them racing before. This is white mainly with yellow and black on it. Into the pits, the 666 BMW, one of the M235 Cup cars.
Oh, I see. The Porsche was actually leading the race overall. It wasn't.
Yes, it was.
Down. Yeah, sorry, I hadn't.
Because it hadn't pitted.
Yeah, okay. So that was the only car not to have pitted on the previous time round, and still hasn't pitted then. So it's now onto its 9th lap, and is in the overall lead of the race, having stayed out last time around. The 77 Menzel car has also not yet pitted.
Now, the car that was having the problem on the ADAC Ruhr, Porsche Cayman in blue and orange, is in the pit lane, and there's heavy damage to the back right-hand corner of that car. And that was the cause of the slow zone around the second carousel. It's the 444, Paul, one of the Pixar Motorsport cars that has come to a halt in behind actually its teammate, one of the BMW 235 Cup 5 cars.